Find I drew a heart over room 714. The map didn't lie, it flirted. At 12:11, the blue dot for Naomi's phone paused over the Arcadian, and a small pink heart appeared inside the geofence she'd named around it. Notify me, she'd told the app weeks ago, when she was joking about losing her AirPods. The heart was her idea of a punchline. Tonight it looked like handwriting on a door. The banner slid up my lock screen with embarrassing softness. Naomi's items remained near room 714. The Arcadian sits on ninth like a rich friend's apology. Marble, warm brass, confidence in a lobby. We've walked through it exactly twice. Once for a fundraiser where she corrected the copy on a donor placard with her thumbnail. Once to use a bathroom we didn't deserve. She always said the carpets tried too hard to look humble. She'd texted at 9. Panel, donors, a quick drink, don't wait up. That particular equation always ends at midnight with both of us pretending the other didn't notice the leftover variables. I stared at the heart on the map and told myself jokes until they turned into sentences I didn't want to keep. Find my blinked like a patient. The blue dot didn't move. I did what I do when the night nominates me for a speech I'll regret. I walked to Loom. It smells like oranges and second drafts. The lights are warm enough to forgive you and bright enough to keep you from lying. Anna was wiping a counter that didn't need it, sleeves rolled, the pale crescent scar on her wrist catching light like a moral. "Which hotel is it tonight?" she asked, pouring water without asking the question first. "Arcadian," I said. The app drew a heart. "Spectacle is a sugar crash," she said. "Mara's in the corner." Mara sat in her usual spot, red scarf folded into compliance, a notebook flattened by a rubber band. She listened the way she always does, as if I'm paying her with interest. I showed her the banner, the map, the heart that had no right to be adorable. When I ran out of words, she said, "Bread or sugar?" "Bread," I said, "because I am trying to be the version of myself you can use in the morning." "Good," she said. "Go home, lamp on, put the phone face up. Leave the door unlocked for accuracy, not for guests. Ask for one sentence you can survive." On the way back, I passed the Arcadian side entrance. A man in navy stood under the awning rehearsing a smile he wanted to look unrepeatable. There are only so many men in this city who teach me new ways to dislike the color blue. He didn't see me. I chose not to see him. At home, I turned on one lamp and laid the phone on the table like a small animal I wanted to domesticate. The dog lifted his head, yawned, and decided I wasn't exciting. The apartment practiced being patient. At 12:33, the heart disappeared. The blue dot moved. Find my lost its nerve. Naomi came in at 12:41 with rain on her hair and the lanyard from the panel still around her neck, reluctant jewelry. She closed the door softly like she respected hinges. She saw the lamp, the phone, my posture. "Map," she said, and her mouth did the shape it makes when she hates her own jokes. "I didn't go," I said. "I'm proud and a little disappointed," she said, smiling the kind of smile that tells the truth about both of us. She walked to the table and looked at the screen. The heart icon had faded into the history list. Arcadian 714 stayed near. She touched it like you touch a stove twice to make a rule stick. "Do you want a scene?" I asked, "or accuracy?" "Accuracy," she said. I stood in the lobby for 9 minutes and told myself I was just there to check if wanting felt like honesty or performance. I texted Adrian to come downstairs because I don't end anything in rooms where the carpet thinks it's a character. He sent the room number because he calls inevitability closure. I left while the elevator still thought it had me. "Did you?" I started. The old liturgy that makes me feel like my mouth belongs to someone I don't admire. No, she said, unless you count the 10 minutes where I wanted to be the kind of person who says I almost did as if that's a trophy. I hate that part of me. I also don't want to pretend it isn't mine. I let silence do the job we keep meaning to pay a therapist for. The dog came to sit on her foot like a notary. He stood under the awning when I walked past, I said. I kept walking. Of course he did, she said, smiling without humor. He's very invested in exits. Do you need to be touched first, I asked, or do you need to say the rest? Touch, she said, then truth, then whatever you need. We didn't go to bed to erase a map. We went because there's a language we only speak correctly when our mouths are busy with something other than defending themselves. She stood in front of me, and I raised the zipper of her dress slow and exact, a motion we taught each other for nights when we intend to be careful. The fabric made the small, honest exhale clothes make when they remember their costumes. She placed my palm at her hip and pressed until the weight said stay. I kissed the hinge of her jaw where her certainty keeps breathing, and she said my name in the version that means keep. We asked the small questions we always ask here, slower, more, and answered in breath, which is the only language that never tries to impress anyone outside the room. We laughed once because a sleeve tried to be architecture and she rescued me with her teeth. Heat did what it does when you meet it with attention. It built like tide, not spectacle. When we came apart together, it wasn't victory. It was signature, ours legible. After, with the window cracked and the city performing weather for some other couple, she rested her cheek on my chest and drew a circle with her finger over the place where my worst ideas nap. I'm not pure, she said, her voice smug and sorry at once. I didn't order purity, I said. I ordered you. I wanted to be admired by a version of me that's easier to applaud than to live with, she said. Adrian is excellent at lighting. He wanted me to step onto a stage he built and call it closure. I prefer light that sees into the sink. We need rules again, I said, because ritual is better than mercy in the middle of the night. Tools, not bars. She grinned into my skin. 1. The app isn't allowed to flirt with us after 11. If Find My draws a heart we didn't, we hand it back. 2, I said. If a room is required for bravery, we name it in this kitchen before anyone else rents it. 3, she said. Novelty is a household chore. Your weeks you pick the wrong hour for the right thing. My weeks I move the furniture until the light has to remember us. 4, I added. When either of us misses the wrong gaze, we say it out loud and then do 3 stupid ordinary things until wanting behaves. Peel oranges over the sink. Play one song to the end before anything important. Kiss in the doorway so the apartment believes us. We did them because midnight is feral and likes to be told to sit. We peeled oranges. The room smelled like we might manage tomorrow. We played a song we trust to know the difference between apology and sales. We stood in the doorway and kissed until the pipes clicked like an old building approving a small law. In the morning, I turned off every geofence with a cutesy name and renamed our shared places after things that can't be lied about. Sink, bed, dog. I made Find My a little bit dumber. I forwarded the Arcadian heart to a folder labeled museum, souvenirs of a life we declined. Naomi made coffee and read aloud from a student draft about restraint that didn't make me want to quit teaching. Discipline is desire with a map, she quoted and rolled her eyes at herself. I want our map. At lunch, I passed the Arcadian on purpose. The awning had turned the rain into set dressing. Adrian stood with his coat open 2 inches like he believed wind could be persuaded to behave around him. He saw me and put on a face labeled benevolent. You're lucky, he said, because men like him know one blessing and hope it sounds larger than it is. I know, I said. I trained for it. He smiled the way you smile at a child who has mispronounced a philosophical term in a charming way. "Decency gets boring," he said. "You should come be complicated sometime." "I prefer being specific," I said, and kept walking. "He doesn't like other people's backs." I went a loom because victory tastes better if Anna names it. She slid a cookie across the counter and refused my pretend refusal with a look. "Bread," she said, tapping the wood like a benediction. In the corner, Mara lifted her scarf like a flag. "Continue." Sometimes the city still tries it. The calendar suggests a focus block at 2 like attention is a faith. The TV autoplays a movie where men in navy carry keys the way teenagers carry vape pens. Find My wants to tell me when my own headphones are too far from my head. We lay whatever it is on the table, turn on one lamp, and ask for one sentence we can live inside. We keep being able to. There are days we fail. On a Wednesday when everything was loud, Naomi texted a photo of a linen napkin monogrammed with the hotel's initials and the caption, "Accidental Souvenir." I replied with the whale magnet holding nothing and the caption, "We have better museums." That night we moved the couch 2 inches and the light forgot and remembered us. We took that as proof you can train a room, and maybe yourselves too. A week later at 12:11 again, because time enjoys its little jokes, find my ping that my keys had been left behind at a place labeled home. Not the pink heart. A small gray circle with a tiny house inside it, unromantic, exact. I laughed. The shoulders and teeth laugh Naomi has taught me to like hearing in my own mouth. She walked in from the hallway in socks and a t-shirt with a ribbon fraying along the hem, looked at my phone, and said, "Let's go find them," like she wanted to look under a couch with me instead of under a lie with someone else. We crawled around the living room, knocking on furniture as if the keys might be embarrassed into volunteering. She reached under the couch and came up with them and a dust bunny that had ambitions. We sat on the floor and took a picture, 2 adults who have chosen to be ridiculous harder than other people choose to be dramatic. I sent it to Mara. She replied with a theater marquee, LISTNING over WATCHING. Then a heart without a period. Last night, alone for an hour I didn't want, I opened the map and stared at our dots like a sad astronomer. 2 little circles steady in 1 little square. I turned off the app and turned on the lamp and wrote a note for Naomi and put it in the bowl with the lemons and the lanyards and the pen that still writes even though it has nicks in its barrel. "Read if we forget," I wrote on the outside. Inside, room 0. Lights on. 2 people. I folded it small and felt stupid and exact and relieved. She came home and saw the bowl and the note and me, and she didn't open it. She walked to me instead, touched my face with that quick, precise tenderness you learn when you've been keeping a house with someone as a sport, and said, "Switch the lamp off," like a compliment. I did. We stood in the dark doorway because that is where we practice applause, and then we went where the language lives. The ceiling forgave us. The room remembered us. The map drew nothing, which is the shape I want from it forever. We are not pure. We are particular. The world will keep pitching us hearts with borders we didn't name. We will keep putting our phones on the table and choosing one lamp and learning one sentence and getting good at inventory. Lemons, bread, a pencil that writes, a dog who keeps our feet, a door that knows our key from anyone else's, and a map with only one room that matters. Home.